Hi, so now let's work a little bit about how to visualize tables on Tableau. So let's try to replicate some of the things we did with D3 and Vega Lite and Altair. So what I'm going to be using is the Palmer Penguins dataset, as you see in here. I'm dragging that into Tableau. So as we said before, in here is going to be very easy. Remember, you have in Tableau your categorical attributes and your quantitative attributes. If you just say you want to see how many elements you have overall, you just double click in measure values, or not that one, in number of records. That seems like they got rid of that in the latest version of Tableau. Like maybe it's this one. Yes, so they changed the name for that. So anyhow, there you can see like this is the total number of elements that you have. Remember that Tableau, when you use Tableau, you have to start thinking in the Tableau way. Like every time you add a new measurement, it's going to show you an aggregated version of that, as you see in here. And when you add a categorical element, like here, for instance, the species, then it's going to start slice and dicing the data by that. But remember that each one of these things, it's going to contain data inside, so multiple rows. This is actually something I really like from Tableau, is that I can select those elements and they export this data and then continue the exploration outside if I want. So that's very nice. If you want to flip this one, then you can change it like here. And then we can change the name in here and say, this is going to be like penguins, number of penguins by species. Okay, so always remember putting like meaningful titles. So the other thing that you need to remember is that in Tableau, like all data aggregation, you can change what you're going to use for that, especially if you're adding some of the other elements, like especially these ones in here. So for the moment, let's start with that. What if you want to create like a stack bar chart? Then you can duplicate this and then you just say, I also want to add the island. So if you just put that in here, then it's going to start creating this bar chart that is like a nested bar chart. And if you change the order, it's going to reorganize and say first grouping by species and then by island. But then if I take this island and put it into the color channel, then it's going to create for me the stack bar chart that we saw also in the other ones. I think if you want bigger bars, you can set it up here manually. Usually it's a good idea to leave like the standard defaults in there. So we can say now by species and island. If you wanna say, for instance, from this one, you wanna show this as a pie chart or something like that, then you always have this option that says show me, and that allows you to change into other views. So for instance, you can see here is the pie chart, and then that it's selecting what it wants to use for each one of those. So we can make this thing a little bit bigger maybe. So maybe let's say this uses the entire view. That's a little bit better. Then we can enable some labels in there. You can do that by clicking on this, or you can select what you want to have. And notice that I'm holding Command in here, so I can duplicate the element in there. And if I also want to show the count, then I can put that as well in there. As you can see, it's very easy in here. So this will be like my pie chart. And then if you want to create a donut chart in here, let's see if I can remember how to do this. I think the key for doing that in here, it's putting this maybe into a dashboard and then putting your element in here and then adding a blank shape in the middle that is going to cut the elements. So it seems like in this version they changed that, so let's give up on that for the moment. Because you do see all of these elements in here, you can change the angle. That's what we are using as a channel in there. Then I wonder if we remove this. Yes, so that was like if you want to create multiple pie charts for that. Okay, so that is for the pie chart. And what other things you can create. So you can actually go crazy with this thing, but you have to be careful. I recommend you not doing it, especially, for instance, this is one of the representations people really like, but we already know from perception that that can be a little bit deceiving. So be careful with that. Of course, the other thing you can do is start creating like just a simple table, and Tableau is also very good at doing that. And I do that all the time for making sure that I'm understanding everything. So I think I can do that just by putting here this element, and then you just say, I want the species. So that gives me all of the possible species. And then say that you also want the island. So then you can put it like this. And that gives you the values. So as you can see, in Tableau is way simpler. You are way more limited. Be careful not going too crazy with this, not changing into values that are going to be very dangerous for you. So and then make sure that you always have good titles and good descriptions to your charts.